Okay. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the fifth session of the Sustainability Insight. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our organizing team from UNESCO Jakarta. My name is Sachi Suzuki, JFIT coordinator, and here is Vidyani Ahmad, Gani Mulia, and Chipta Yamatsanda from UNESCO Jakarta office. Today, we are going to focus on investments in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics for SDGs. We proudly present Professor Shahbaz Khan, the Director of UNESCO Regional Science Bureau for Asia and the Pacific as a moderator, and Professor Dr. Manzoor Hussain Soomro, President of the Economic Cooperation Organization, Science Foundation, Pakistan, as our guest speaker. We are ready to take your questions. Please use the Q&A box and Facebook page. You are also invited to fill the attendance list, which we are going to share, especially if you would like to have a certificate. Okay, Professor Shahbaz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear Dr. Sachi. It's a wonderful day. We have a friend of UNESCO, a friend of science, and a promoter of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, inquiry-based science education as a top expert in the world, Professor Manzoor Soomro with us. So Professor Soomro, most welcome. You have so many of the affiliations, including with the ECO Science Foundation, also with what we will be discussing later with UNESCO centers, but also you're guiding our science programs for the Regional Science Bureau in Asia Pacific and the science policy which we have for our member states from UNESCO. So I'm going to focus today on this special topic, especially what do we mean by STEM? What is education for sustainable development? And then also, what do we mean from inquiry-based science education? And in the process, we will learn from your experience and hopefully we will come to some conclusions which can guide the programs of organizations like UNESCO, but also others, our member states. And also we have to answer a critical question, given the COVID situation, what we have learned new, what is our present level of investment in science and technology related fields and especially STEM fields, and how can we enhance it further and what can be the guidance we can give to people who are interested. So let me begin. So let's first understand from your perspectives, Professor Soomro, three key areas: science, technology, engineering, mathematics, education, STEM, education for sustainable development, ESD, inquiry-based science education. Are they the same or they are different areas? And where are the synergies if they are different areas? Professor Soomro, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Shahbaz Khan, and my sincere thanks to your team for coordinating this discussion. Honestly speaking, until and unless every individual understands the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and other aspects of this scientific process, things really don't move in the right direction. And this I say that if we begin at a very early stage for educating our children who are going to be future leaders and educating them in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Of course, at the moment, generally, particularly engineering comes relatively later, but I think we use technology, we benefit from technology, it's a technological world, and we need to have at a very early stage. Now, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics as a disciplines, but how to teach STEM, how to carry those forward. I think that's where the inquiry-based science education, inquiry-based learning or activity-based learning comes in, and that has proven good globally to be a wonderful method of learning, not only by the people who can read and write, but I have personally been engaged with some of the programs and adult education whereby the inquiry method helps even people who could not read or write, they can understand the scientific process. Now, EST, the Education for Sustainable Development, I think that needs, in my personal opinion, more of inquiry-based learning than any other, because you see, we are talking about biodiversity, we are talking about climate change or water or energy. These are all those aspects which need understanding, whether one can talk about that or express or not, but I think understanding is far more important, and understanding in one's own language. I think these are some of the key things that I think we must understand, and your funds and trust should really focus on those. And in some of the developing countries that I represent, ECO Science Foundation being an intergovernmental organization, uh, uh, we see that when there is some support, things continue. But if there is no support or support reduces, the priorities of political governments change and we lose the focus. And as a result, that you see many out of school children also.
Thank you very much, Professor. So you have set now very clearly the definitions of education for sustainable development brings important aspects from science, technology, engineering, mathematics related to environment, related to economy and society. At the same time, inquiry-based learning is important, learning by doing, by observing, by inciting the minds of the people. So they are all synergistic. Now, let me take the debate and dialogue to next level. Is it for the young children? Is it for the schools and the colleges and the universities? Or all these things also matter to those people who never go to school? What is your take on these matters for the common society? If you have to move society forward positively, would a farmer need these kind of skills and understanding as well?
Thank you very much for bringing a very, very important question. In my considered opinion, this understanding is important, rather must, for every individual. And I give you a quick example. I used to be the president, the chair of Pakistan Science Foundation, which is the national body supporting science and technology. And we invited the National Assembly, the Parliament, the Standing Committee on Science and Technology, and some of the activities that we do with the school children as future leaders, I was showing around, and the chair of the committee, who happened to be a PhD also himself, said, "Why are you showing this, things for children? Show us the bigger science." And I had to explain to him that all big scientists, including our very own Professor Abdul Salam, was a child, and that is when he was nurtured or got the opportunity to understand, and then he moved about. So curiosity of every individual, you see, whether later on they become policymakers, they become politicians, because they then are the decision makers. So I think this understanding of scientific processes, which means popularization of science at all levels, is very important. Yes, of course, when you go to down to schools, you go in a different way. You focus on teachers training and grooming. But when you go for educating the policymakers, you have to have a different kind of forum where at a different level, experts like you come in to interact with them. But I think all those aspects are important. We are talking about ecology, environment, and you know, the food security, the things that are handled by other people than directly involved in STEM. And they are, for example, the farming community, the business community. So they also need to understand. And I think if the corporate social responsibility aspect budget comes from the businesses, we need to interact with the business community, the chambers also, to, you know, divert that funds for this activity, whereby we can educate the people, but also bring about the awareness, at least a minimum level of understanding. And that's where the media and journalists have a bigger role.
Thank you. This is really very comprehensive now. So the science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and how do we deliver through inquiry-based methods, and for educating society for sustainable development is everyone's business. It links with sustainable development goals, and you have clearly identified, of course, the SDG number 4, which is about education, which you have clearly mentioned, but it's whole of society approach. Food security, water security, job security, and now our health security really means we have proper learning. And if we have to have Nobel scientists like Salam, who is one of the key scientists in the world, we have Professor Salam Institute for Advanced Physics in Trieste in UNESCO. And that's only possible if we start rightly from the grassroots level, and do not think it's the job of only the scientists. We need to have proper training of the trainers, the teachers, and then bring it to everyone and to the policy level. So that's really very good. Let's now explore this at, Professor, now let's explore this, the work we have done together with the engineering institutions in ECO countries, including Pakistan. Pakistan is one of the first countries to get accredited on the Federation of Engineering Institutions, standardization of the engineering standards in Pakistan, same as any other country in the whole Asia Pacific. Can you please give us some ideas about that program and the challenges we face with different systems and different education systems in the ECO countries, and your experience and advice on that?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. But before going on that, I like to mention the importance of educating the females. So on a same account, when I said across the range, across the professions, people need to understand the scientific processes. That not only will help to understand the STEM, but also the citizenry, the rational thinking of the people. So now to this engineering qualification and standardization, this was a wonderful initiative that we have had, and we began together in January 2015 from Pakistan, as you mentioned. And so they became signatory to FIEP, and very soon Pakistan became also signatory to Washington Accord. At the moment in our region, in 10 countries of ECO, it's only Turkey and Pakistan who are the signatory to these accords. We took it further, particularly in Central Asia, because after the collapse of Soviet Union in 1991, these countries were rather, left behind in some of the key things. Of course, in some countries, there were strength, but only in certain areas. So as a country, you need to have all aspects. And that's why when we looked at the engineering, we felt that there's no accreditation body there, and they have difficulty. Earlier on, it was all Soviet Union, and they were following those procedures. Informally, though, they follow certain procedures, but we had difficulty. So we had a workshop together with you in Tajikistan, in Dushanbe, but it could not continue for two reasons. One, the priority of those countries at government level, but also the mindset of a Soviet era, people, honestly speaking, are still procedurally following the things that you know in principle had finished 25, 27 years ago. So those were some of the difficulties, and we found out that these countries also have some difficulty with their economies, which has further been added by COVID-19. Now, that psyche that we have had 27 years ago has also prevailed in some member states, whereby they have been, I would say, perhaps not coming very clear as to what is the situation and how it is affecting. So if we have institutions like UNESCO supported by trust funds by the developed countries like Japan, and we move out together in collaboration with the local national organizations, then we can perhaps pursue that program. The idea of that program was to actually build the capacity and also build institutions, the accreditation bodies within these countries, so that their engineers are certified by them, and those certification is recognized globally, and the engineers can be mobilized from one country to another in this global world.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you also for bringing this issue of mainstreaming gender. And gender is, of course, female and male. So first of all, with the same level of respect to both genders, and also making sure that female scientists, engineers, professionals are not left behind in any way. And that's the 2030 agenda, SDGs, leaving no one behind and giving the proper respect to everyone. So thank you for bringing that, and also highlighting the achievements of Pakistan in this engineering program, and also highlighting the difficulties some nations have because of the systems in transition. So that's very clear. Let's move to now the next area, which is very important, and I'm sure also for ECO countries is very important. With COVID, there are many, many challenges. We have to work from home. We have to use these webinars. We have to interact with, we have to keep our spirits high at the same time and be positive. And there are so many positives which have come. For example, if we look into your country, from Pakistan, we have examples of Ministries of Science and Technology taking a leading role in developing with engineers and scientists, simple things like ventilators, and now even exporting and masks, and so many other things are coming through. But what are the challenges for inquiry-based science education when children are unable to go to a laboratory in the school, when we do not have the facilities we had before for STEM? So how can we overcome those kind of challenges, and what are the bright lights which are coming with some of the actions in this very difficult period? Professor Soomro.
Right. Thank you. I think all natural disasters or crises, where they create problems, there are always some opportunities for some people. And I think this was a kind of a push to government of Pakistan when this problem began. Although I would say that probably the country was not prepared well while COVID was an issue in China. That was probably the time when Pakistan could have very well prepared. But nevertheless, when there was a crisis, they moved quickly. And I like to give this good part of the credit to the Minister for Science and Technology of Pakistan, His Excellency Mr. Fawad Chaudhry, because he pushed things, looked at the strength of the institutions, and discussed with the engineers and the scientists, and they came up with certain things, and things started moving. So not only that, very quickly they were self-sufficient in some of the gadgets and PPEs for Pakistan, but now they are able to even export. But coming back to our issue of the implementation of the program, we were doing physical activities and workshops, teaching the teachers, and then those teachers going to teach their other colleagues as well as students. Now that has stopped, and this is not just in Pakistan, but whole region and around the world, that people have switched over to some of the other tools. And the broadband issue, I mean, the internet is being used. There are people in their local areas, of course, still using these standard operating procedures during the COVID. They are even meeting physically, training and learning from each other. But some have also made small, social media groups where they can learn from each other. But overall, what we were going to, deliver physically has switched over to online teaching and training, and that has the biggest challenge, I would say, is the connectivity issue. And in many areas in this region and beyond, the connectivity is a major issue. The governments need to have the infrastructure. They need to put more money on this side, not just for education, but health and other aspects also, because for all aspects you need to communicate. So that's a bigger challenge, and frankly speaking, we have had difficulty. Our program has slightly been slowed down, though we have switched over to the newer tools. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Soomro. This is very clear that there is a challenge, and challenge needs also investment, and it has highlighted the need for broadband and for children to be able to have the right kind of equipment. But there are also very positive signs, as you have said, the political commitment from the Minister of Science and Technology and from the government, and indigenous knowledge, local knowledge, and also ability to prepare for the local people, but also exporting. That brings me to a very important question which we have for today, and I'm sure colleagues are waiting for your answer for that. You have been the president of Pakistan Science Foundation, president of ECO. You play a very important role on the board of UNESCO centers in Iran and in Malaysia. Yeah. So one of the questions is the level of investment in science and technology. What is an appropriate level of investment to produce Nobel scientists like Salam? What should we minimum invest into science and technology? Is this field a luxury, not necessity? And if it is a necessity, what would be the minimum to make sure we continue to prepare for our present and future generations, and not only knee-jerk reaction to a disaster like COVID? Over to you for your insight on the level of investment.
Thank you. I think investment in the STEM education, I don't think it's a luxury, it's a necessity, and it's a must for everyone. But leadership does matter. At the World Science Forum, it is every time it is recommended that there should be advisors, chief science advisors to the government, and many countries do not have that, provision. When this country, Pakistan, had a science advisor like Professor Ataur Rahman, things happened very fast, and the investment into higher education, because that's what he was focusing, went too much. And now you see, if the minister is active, some of the funding is, switched over. But the appropriate level of investment is very hard to say or fix. But the European Union, for example, has set for themselves 3% of GDP. Within our region, it varies, like Asia Pacific region, Korea is spending far more than any other. But I think like the African Union has set a target of 1% uh, of GDP to be invested. For our region, I think it will be reasonable to set a target for 1%, because at the moment, if I talk about Pakistan, it's less than 0.3%. So if we have 1%, and I'm mainly talking about our member countries, but this applies to other developing countries in the Asia Pacific region as well. So I think to start with, 1% would be reasonably good. Otherwise, when you look at some of the you know, higher spending countries, Israel is on top, followed by South Korea, which is 4+% of GDP. So 1%, I think, to start with, and this is the target. And we need to lobby, and I would like actually UNESCO, being a UN agency, to write to the governments, the relevant ministers, as an outcome of these sustainability insight sessions, that these are some of the consensus by the experts, by the scientific community for the purpose to push
Thank
it
you very
forward.
much. Professor, this is really very important insight. And I'm very pleased to know that you have now put it in very right terms. It's a necessity. And maybe those member states who are struggling with their economy, they need more investment into science and technology with Industrial Revolution 4.0. And many people will lose their jobs if they are not properly trained into computer sciences, into IT, into all the fields which need all of this science, technology, engineering, mathematics. So thank you for putting it into the proper context. And maybe your recommendation 1%. But maybe more, which we need to carefully look into. I'm planning to have a STI advisory for the whole region, and we will like to invite you and other key colleagues to come together with our centers, chairs, but very eminent scientists to advise UNESCO and the member states for a support strategy. This is all the time we have for today. And let me try to summarize some of the excellent ideas which you have given us. So in summary, we are now clear. Yes, please. If you want.
Just few seconds. We talked about Nobel laureates. I think for sustainability to ensure, we need more people to understand and take care of the aspect that we have talked about, rather than investing into producing Nobel laureates. I think for our region, we need more of rational citizens, well-educated citizens, rather than few Nobel laureates. This is my...
That's good. It's not one or the other. If we have an innovation system, Professor, in place, like Salam came from a small village in Punjab and went all the way and became a Nobel laureate, that's also important, that the science must be of the highest quality when we say Nobel laureate. So I agree with you. So let me quickly summarize, thanking you as your wonderful ideas. And we are going to produce this on YouTube as well. The question and answers are there. There are some questions about the ASEAN region, which we will answer, both of us, and we will put them on our site. In summary, let's bring the summary that education for sustainable development, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and science which is led by inquiry-based methods, all of them are very synergistic. And all of them are important for whole of society, not just for students and their teachers, or not just for the scientists or for the policy institutions. We need to create a system of innovation which goes all the way through. So that's very, very important. And we need to prepare our societies, and it's not only the Nobel laureates, but the society as a whole need to be prepared. So a well-educated, innovative societies who can take their right place in the global economy. COVID has many challenges, and one of those challenges is we are unable to have our trainers and our students to go to those labs where these inquiry-based methods are practiced and learning together is happening. So, and also there are challenges for broadband. We need to carefully look into that. And there need to be investments at the right level. And you have made it clear to us, it is not a luxury, it's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
And if any nation has to move forward in the ECO region, or in the whole of Asia Pacific, or anywhere in the world, we must invest into science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And your message, very importantly, we have to mainstream gender, leaving no one behind. And let's also quickly summarize that level of investments are different. You have given example of Israel and of South Korea, where more than 4% of the GDP. And also countries like Pakistan with huge potential, but maybe 0.3%. And the African Union's recommendation is 1%. So we take your 1% recommendation as a minimum baseline. And we also, yeah, as a minimum. And also, thank you for excellent suggestion. We form a policy advisory group, inviting you and other colleagues in near future to formulate recommendations for the government with now this new normal of the COVID. But at the same time, how do we move societies forward? How do we make sure the GDPs, as they are recovering, and the GDPs which need to take care of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, what should be the minimum levels of investment for the whole society, from a farmer all the way to the top scientists? And it's not only for producing high-level scientists only. We need to have very good primary, secondary teachers. We need to have trainers for the farmers who should understand these methods. So there is no two ways. So we are very thankful to you from UNESCO, from Japan Funds Interest, for bringing all these insights. And this is all the time we have for today. We will be compiling and we will follow up these ideas with you. Colleagues who have asked many questions, most welcome for your questions, which are related to other regions, also the impact of COVID, and the questions which are about networks and connections, and especially for the issues of infrastructure. So we will continue to follow up with you. We will request Professor Soomro to give his input to these questions. We'll put them on our Facebook site with your question, with your name, and the answer from Professor Soomro, and where I can answer, we will do it. So with that, we take permission to leave now, so that we can continue to follow until we have a better world for everyone, leaving no one behind. Thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Soomro.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Shahbaz and Professor Soomro, and all participants. Let me announce next session. Sustainability Insight Part 6 will be held on 13th July with Dr. Anthony Sales, Regional Director, Department of Science and Technology, Philippines. The title of the next session is Smart Knowledge for Localizing SDGs. For further information, please visit our Sustainability Insight Instagram and Facebook page. Thank you very much all, and have a good day.
Thank you very much.